Welcome back, everyone. This will be my full video for The Boys Season 3, Episode 8. It's the finale. There's a whole bunch of Easter eggs. Obviously, we're getting Season 4, but if you're brand new to the channel, be sure to subscribe to get all the videos. Careful for spoilers. If you haven't seen the episode yet, we'll just start at the beginning and work our way through shot by shot, talking about Easter eggs, WTF moments as we go along. And I will do a video for Season 4 this weekend, too, because we do know a little bit about what their plans are for Season 4. There are a couple really big storylines that they tease at the end of the episode, too, so you kind of have an idea for what's going on. But the episode title is The Instant White Hot Wild, which is a reference to the comic book issue number 38. Now, the comic book plot is vastly divergent from the TV show plot, but thematically there are some similarities. Like most of the titles of Boys episodes are taken from the titles of comic book chapters, but the events of the chapters with the same name don't correspond to the actual plot of the episodes. The title Instant White Hot Wild is also a metaphor for Soldier Boy's power in the flashbang metaphorical ending fight where he blows up, but Maeve protects everyone by taking him out the window. There's some similarities in Ryan's story arc during this episode, the whole idea of fathers and sons in Kimiko during that issue 38 that the title takes its inspiration from. When Kimiko chose a different path, like she was raised or handled by these people who just forced her to do all these terrible things, and eventually she chose her own path. They kind of want to tie that to Ryan's storyline because he's obviously a much bigger character heading into Season 4. Like, the whole idea now is, what is Ryan going to do? Is he going to drink the Kool-Aid and become just as terrible as Homelander, or is he going to choose his own path and choose something better? The actual opening scene is Ryan playing this really sad game of catch with himself, just throwing the ball super far because of his powers, and then confirming that Homelander got his address from Victoria Newman. And even though there's this whole storyline, they've had all these seasons of the boys wanting to kill Homelander, him being a complete psychopath, the way they play this scene, though, is meant to be like this genuine emotion from Homelander. Like, he genuinely cares about Ryan, wants to have a family with him, even though he's also a psychopath on the side. He really is just like this hurt little boy that just wants a family. That's all he cares about. Like, he doesn't actually care about being a superhero. He just wants love from other people. And I love the creepy way that they play this too. Like, Ryan himself, they also reveal, has blamed himself for the death of Becca this whole time. He's been living with all that guilt. And the main reason why he's been so afraid of Homelander is because he felt like Homelander hated him for killing Becca. So when Homelander tries to wipe all that guilt away, like, don't blame yourself, accidents happen, that's why he runs to him, and it's very Luke Skywalker, Darth Vader kind of scene. Like, what would have happened if Luke Skywalker had actually learned Darth Vader was his father when he was a little kid? Obi-Wan Kenobi basically talks about this during Return of the Jedi. Like, the reason why we held that truth from you is because you would have run straight to him and we would have lost you. A version of that basically happens during the episode. Like, at the end of the episode, you see Ryan just get twisted a little bit evil, learning all the wrong lessons from what Homelander does with the crowd there, killing that person, in the crowd celebrating him for it. And I love the downer way that they play this moment. Like, it's meant to be a hopeful moment. Like, oh yeah, you know, both of them are getting the family that they never had before, they've always wanted. But they have that really creepy music cue because of everything that happens later in the episode. Like, wait a minute, Homelander's a psychopath. He's doing all these terrible things. Ryan kind of seems like he's also going to go full Brightburn and do all these terrible things during Season 4. Then they start setting up all these protests that are going on between Starlight supporters and all of Homelander's and the Seven supporters. Really, it's Homelander, but it's kind of like everything that Vought is telling them, because Homelander is the representative of Vought. Like, he's kind of in charge of the company now. And the way they're playing this is meant to turn into this real-world allegory for all the culture war stuff that's been happening the past couple of years, because next season we're like literally heading into that presidential election that they just tease at the end of the episode. And we've basically been living through a version of that the last couple of years in the real world. I think a really easy way to think about it is the Spider-Man No Way Home Mysterio video. So in Spider-Man No Way Home, they reveal the consequences of Mysterio's video. The way they play it is that basically like half of the population believes Mysterio's lies and the other half doesn't believe them. That's kind of been going on with Janine's stepdad. Like, he literally is the person who starts cheering for Homelander the minute that he kills the dude that disrespects Ryan. You have to imagine that kind of movement that happens there in that crowd spreading as we head into the presidential election in Season 4. Like, it's only going to get worse. It's kind of like the ultimate fulfillment of the end of Season 2, where Homelander goes even crazier and is on top of the building, just totally doing it to himself, saying, I can do anything I want, and actually believing it. Even at the end of the episode, too, when Homelander sees the crowd cheering for him, like, oh, wait a minute, I just killed that dude. Are they going to hate me now? No, wait, they love me. Oh my god, they love me. This is amazing. He is legit surprised at the crowd's reaction. Because if you remember during Season 2, he had a hallucination where he thought that he might actually open up on that entire crowd, killing them all, and he was so worried that people would stop loving him because of that. But now they basically shown that people will love him almost no matter what, or at least a certain portion of people will love him no matter what. just allowing him to become even crazier and crazier in season 4. There's a lot of really subtle Ashley moments in this episode too. The first one being Ashley actually looking at Maeve, being genuinely sorry, like trying to tell her, I'm so sorry about this, and actually caring about what happens to her. If it wasn't clear, they were trying to move Maeve and then harvest her eggs to sort of fulfill Homelander's threat to her, like, okay, we're probably going to kill you off, but we'll take your eggs beforehand so I can have a super baby with you. So Ashley genuinely actually does feel sorry for what's going to happen. Like, she actually cares what happens to Maeve. That's why she's also horrified when she finds out what Homelander has done to Black Noir, killing him, and then later when she deletes the footage of Maeve surviving. They're kind of setting the stage for Ashley and other people inside the Seven, like A-Train in the Deep, to turn and help the boys. Although it is kind of hard to say which direction the Deep is going to go, because he'll just do anything that anybody tells him to do. The whole thing with Mother's Milk being remorseful for his daughter seeing him knock out the stepfather, even though he's gone full-blown crazy town Team Homelander, is meant to be a parallel for what happens with Ryan in Homelander at the end of the episode. Like the idea of the father passing on their bad drama, their baggage to their kids, like teaching the kids the wrong lesson. Fathers messing their kids up, which is meant to flow with Soldier Boy's storyline too. Mother's Milk was just worried that his daughter, seeing his act of violence, was going to mess her up in the head, which it obviously doesn't. They played it in a more hopeful way. But the opposite of that happens to Ryan, so he is now totally messed up in the head heading into season 4. Like, oh, people like it when I'm violent like this. Love when Black Noir came back to the Seven, like you have all those hallucinations with the cartoon characters following him around, especially talking to him later in the episode too. They do want to show you that he and Homelander are bros, like he does care about Homelander. He's helped him in the past, like even stuff during the flashbacks they did during the animated series. He tries to tell Homelander the actual truth, but because he's not so articulate, he's not able to get the message across. Homelander is just so desperate to have a family that he's willing to overlook all the crazy stuff that's going on with Soldier Boy. The way they play their storyline too, like even though Homelander kills him in a really messed up WTF way, like he's crying while he's doing it, he's sad to kill his friend. They played in a very Captain America Civil War kind of way with Iron Man and Captain America, like, you should have told me, dude. The secret that Captain America was keeping from Iron Man was Bucky being the person to kill his parents, but obviously in the case of the boys, it was Black Noir knowing that Soldier Boy used his genetic material to help create Homelander. But true to his word, Black Noir wasn't lying. They should have killed Soldier Boy right on the spot. There wasn't much of a Frenchie storyline in the finale. He just has a couple funny moments, and it's just about him asserting himself and trying to leave behind his trauma. It was meant to be a very similar storyline for a lot of the other characters, like Huey kind of realizing what was going on and trying to get past all of his trauma too. Not taking the temporary compound V anymore, realizing that he didn't need it. Frenchie realizing that he didn't need to try to run away from all of his problems. I love the story that Huey told about his father because we're talking about Simon Pegg here. He plays his father on the TV show, but if you've read the boys' comic book, then the character of Huey was actually animated by the person who created the comic book to look just like Simon Pegg. And had the comic book been adapted into a TV show in the early 2000s, it would have been Simon Pegg playing Huey, but it just took so long that he aged out of the role and now he's playing Huey's father. But if you watch the animated series The Boys Diabolical, they did an animated episode that's meant to be much more accurate to the comic book version of the characters, and Huey is animated to look like Simon Pegg and voiced by Simon Pegg in that one particular episode. Soldier Boy reveals his true backstory to Butcher, who hasn't seen all the propaganda films that Vought created about him, but I think you all understood that everything that Vought says about the origin of superheroes is meant to be false. Like, they create all these fake backstories, but Soldier Boy did come from World War II era. Like the most twisted version of a Captain America origin story you can imagine. But it's meant to explain why he's so terrible, why he has some of this trauma, PTSD that he can't deal with in present day, and obviously why things go off the rails at the end. Especially at the end of the episode when Homelander tries to sort of bring him into the fold, like, come on, we could work together. The film that Vought made about him in 1951, A Soldier Boy Story, was released the same year, lost the Oscar to An American in Paris, which was also released in 1951. That would have been while the Korean War was happening. I'm assuming Soldier Boy fought during that too. When he talks about doing Jane Wyman in the coat closet at the Oscars that year, she was a famous actress who starred in a film that year called The Blue Veil. He reveals his true backstory is that he came from a wealthy family, but he was kind of like a ne'er-do-well. His father abused him, mistreated him, didn't really care about him at all. So eventually he used his father's contacts in the government to get himself into the early Vought trials. He had a version of the Captain America origin story where they dosed him up, he became a superhero, but because everything about him was fake, like Vought created all this fake backstory, everything they showed him doing was meant to be fake. His father kind of saw through that and said, you cheated, and still didn't care about him. So the idea is in present day, Soldier Boy has wanted to have a family of his own this whole time so that he could try to do better, but he's just been unable to overcome all of that childhood trauma. And that's why he has the conflict with Homelander at the end, like why he can't just accept Homelander for who he is. And if it wasn't clear why he hates Homelander, it's because he kind of hates himself. Like he sees himself literally in Homelander because he's his child, so he kind of looks like him a little bit, or he's meant to look kind of like him. And just the sight of him reminds him of all the trauma that he visited, and he just can't overcome that. And also seeing all the emotion on Homelander's face, which is why he tells him that he's weak, even though physically he's supposed to be stronger than Soldier Boy. The whole storyline with Butcher is they do want to redeem him a little bit. Like, yes, he did save Huey by knocking him out in the bathroom and then leaving him so that he wouldn't take more Compound V, but because he's now basically at the point of no return, they just want to show that there's nothing left to lose for the character. But now he's also lost Ryan to Homelander. Even though he still wants to kill Homelander, he also wants to keep that promise to Becca to protect Ryan. So what they're doing with this character is just showing you that, yes, he is still terrible, he'll continue to be terrible, but there is still a glimmer of hope inside him. Like he tells Huey literally, "You really are the spitting image of my brother," and he is so remorseful about what happened with his brother that they want to show you that Huey could potentially be his ultimate redemption, if that's going to be possible. Now the comic book version of Butcher is a little bit different. I think they're going to be a little bit more hopeful with the TV show version of Butcher's ending, but we'll talk about that in a couple seasons if we get to that point. Later, when the doctor is telling him that his timeline is basically 12 months to 18 months before he dies, that's basically giving you a timeline for the last season of the show. Like the show will probably end as Butcher reaches the end of his timeline. Love the way that Homelander just completely rakes the rest of the Seven over the coals. Like, you're all worthless, I hate all you, you're the worst version of a family that anybody could ever have. I mentioned this earlier with Ashley's storyline. They're just trying to set up the idea that the rest of the Seven here will eventually turn on Homelander. And when I say literally do anything he'll say, when he whispers into his ear, what he's telling him to do is kill the competition for Victoria Newman for the presidential running mate. I've already explained all the Supernatural Easter eggs too with Robert Singer's character. That's the name of one of the creators in the Supernatural TV show, but the actor, Jim Beaver, was also on Supernatural, and there are a lot of other Supernatural actors, like Jensen Ackles, for instance, that are on The Boys TV show, including the showrunner of The Boys TV show. He was the creator of the Supernatural TV show. I also believe Jeffrey Dean Morgan from Supernatural will be on Boys Season 4. We'll see if they complete the trifecta and bring Jared Padalecki on the show. It wouldn't truly be a Supernatural universe if they didn't bring Jared Padalecki on before the end of the series. I also love the reaction on A-Train's face when he found out about the Deep's octopus story. Like, what? The reason you see the Deep eating all that junk food later while he's watching the broadcast of his ex-wife now promoting her own version of a tell-all book, like he just did against the church, is him just developing a version of PTSD behavior from all the crazy stuff that he's done. Like all the compromises that he's made to try and suck up to Homelander are finally taking their toll mentally on him. And he'll just continue acting out in crazier and crazier ways. We kind of saw a version of that with Soldier Boy with his outbursts, not being able to deal with his PTSD. Same thing with the Deep storyline during Season 4 probably. Then when they had their big scene of Homelander and Soldier Boy at the Vought Tower, they played in a very Luke Skywalker, Darth Vader type of scene again, this time obviously with two different characters because Ryan was like the Luke Skywalker in the original situation. But in this scenario, it's more of a Return of the Jedi situation on the Death Star, where you have older Luke Skywalker, Homelander's character, appealing to Soldier Boy, Darth Vader's character. And it'd be like Luke Skywalker appealing to Darth Vader if he rejected him, like if Darth Vader did not redeem himself during Return of the Jedi. I've already explained why Soldier Boy did all this too, like why he completely went off the rails, mostly just being unable to get over his own childhood trauma and the abuse that he suffered at his father's hands. They had some really good fight scenes here too, all around, but mostly this is about them dealing with Soldier Boy, even though Queen Maeve is like, I don't care about that, I just want to kill Homelander, don't need to help here, don't need any kind of team-ups going on, just want to kill Homelander. It was cool to see that messed up moment of Butcher and Homelander working together briefly, even though they just absolutely hate each other. And like I said, they want to show you that Homelander really does care about Ryan despite all the terrible stuff that he's doing, which basically feeds into the whole idea that Ryan kind of rushes to his arms and chooses him over Butcher because he wants a family desperately too, just like Homelander wants a family. One of my few surprises, though, is because obviously this final fight takes place in a broadcast room. They have the big twist where Huey powers up Starlight, gives her extra boost because he turns all the lights in the room up. I actually expected Huey to turn all the broadcast cameras on so that they would just broadcast everything that they were doing to the rest of the world and they would see what's really going on with all the superheroes. Like, oh, Homelander's terrible, Soldier Boy's terrible, we shouldn't believe in any of these superheroes anymore. But the way they play it, that didn't happen. Like, it's still a very half and half situation where like half the population supports Homelander and half the population believe everything Starlight said and thinks that superheroes are terrible. And if it wasn't clear, the reason why Maeve is able to injure Homelander is because she's almost as powerful as him. Not nearly as powerful, but like amongst the 7 in The Boys characters, all the superpowered characters, she's like the closest to being as powerful as Homelander. The one exception to that would be Ryan's character because he's his biological son, and they just want to tease how potentially he could be just as powerful as him. I'll talk about that in a second too, because I think they're giving Ryan a very big part of the comic book plot with the boys going after Homelander. Ultimately, like the end game for Homelander will be Homelander versus Ryan. Superboy versus Superman. That's why they have Ryan wearing the Superboy colors. But if it wasn't clear, all of the damage that Homelander suffered during the episode because he still has Compound V powers all healed by the end of the episode. The reason why Maeve's injuries don't heal is because Soldier Boy's power goes off before she fully heals, and so she loses all of her Compound V powers. But if it wasn't clear, the rest of the world thinks that she's dead, including Homelander, which is the reason why she says she's taking off at the end to hide from Homelander, because if she lived in the city, Homelander's super hearing would be able to detect her and find her instantly. She'll be back during Season 4 and Season 5, like however long The Boys goes, don't worry, it's just that she won't have her superpowers unless she takes more Compound V, and it sounds like she won't. The song they have playing at the end was Elton John's Goodbye Yellow Brick Road. It's just meant to be a metaphor for all of the things going to hell for all the characters. Like, good times are over because it's just going to get worse and worse and worse heading into Season 4, Season 5, whatever the final season winds up being. They confirmed that they're also keeping Soldier Boy sedated in a very similar situation that the Russians were doing. Like, they're effectively keeping him in prison by keeping him gassed up in this chamber. But he's meant to be so strong, that's why he's not dead. Like, they can't kill him. Starlight quits the 7, that's why she throws her old Starlight costume away, and the reason why Butcher shows up drinking from the Homelander cup is just to remind you that he is the ultimate goal, like they're still trying to kill Homelander in next season. But then they confirmed the theory that Homelander was doing the solid paying back Victoria Newman, helping her become the VP by killing her competition. And now she's made the list, like Butcher put her on the list, okay, we're gonna kill her too now. She is based on a comic book character. Victoria Newman is Vic the VP in the comics, but he's called Vic the VP because he's the VP of the United States, and he used to be one of the CEOs of Vought. So the whole ultimate plan is to basically control the White House. Stan Edgar was also kind of trying to do that to make the company more profitable and just make it easier for them to do what they wanted to do. But the way they're playing it on the show, it isn't so much about making money, it's more about just actual power. Then, like I said, the ending with Ryan is just meant to tease him going full Brightburn, being poisoned by all of Homelander's bad teachings, taking all the wrong meanings from all of these things that are happening to them. Like, no, you're not supposed to kill people in public, don't use your powers that way. And all this stuff with the people eating up everything Homelander does is just meant to be more culture war Easter eggs for stuff that's happening in real life. Like, no matter what you do, whatever you say, no matter how false it is, we will just eat it all up and believe everything that comes out of your mouth. Let me know in the comments, though, how evil do you think that Ryan is going to get before they try to redeem the character? Because I think they do want to have a more hopeful ending for his character. Like, he will ultimately see what's really going on with Homelander, and they'll have some sort of final showdown in whatever the final season winds up being. I will do a separate Season 4 video at some point, but if there's something really big during the episode or a big Easter egg or reference that I didn't talk about that you spotted, just write it below in the comments. I've got a bunch of Thor Love and Thunder post-credit scene Easter egg videos that I'm working on, so my Season 4 Boys video should post in the next couple of days. While you wait for everything, everyone click here for all my Thor Love and Thunder videos. I'll update the link as soon as I post all those videos, and you can click here for all my videos for The Boys. Thank you so much for watching, everyone stay safe, and I'll see you guys in the next one.